So welcome everyone. My name is Christian Karasevich. I'm the CEO and founder of Social Chefs, and you're watching this week's episode of Social Chatter. And this week I'm joined by Nick Rishwain. He's not my normal co-host, but he's an excellent fill-in. So how you doing, Nick?
Well, doing well. Glad to be here.
So for those of you who are new, basically what we do is every single week we cover 3 to 5 pieces of social media news. We take that news and we try to, figure out, okay, well, how can we use this from a business purpose? And also we try to discover, we don't try, but we discover a lot of tools along the way, whether they're apps or desktop applications or web applications that we feel can really help you as a business owner, whether it's to, improve something, to give you just a totally new way of looking at something, to help you solve a problem in your business. So if you have any questions at any time during the show, you can put them in the chat if you're watching this on Blab. If you happen to watch the replay, you can put them in the comments up on YouTube or on the blog post. And, and feel free to tweet us. My Twitter handle is at Social Chefs, but also at CKROKS. And then, Nick, yours is what? At experts.com. Is that right?
P for professional, for personal, it's at Nick J. Rishwain. I'll put that down in the comments.
Awesome. And then you can also do, like I said, at Social Chefs, and you can also do hashtag Social Chatter. And that's something that we monitor. So we'll check that out. Again, at any time, if you have any questions on anything, feel free to drop it in the comments and we will we'll work to answer them. So I'm going to kick the show off. And normally this runs about 45 minutes. We're going to probably try to stick to the 30-minute mark today, but we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I wanted to actually talk about was a new thing that Facebook is testing. And they're testing, Nick, I don't know if you've seen this, but basically Facebook has been testing some new video features. And they're looking to really compete with YouTube. And I'm going to put this in here for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's topic number 1 for today. And personally, I'll give you a second to read this, but basically, in a nutshell, they're testing this on the Android app. Now, within the Android app, basically what they're doing is they're looking to enhance the mobile viewing experience, to give people a dedicated video tab and a subscription-based video channel. So,
okay,
for anybody who's a YouTube user, or if you're not a YouTube user, you probably subscribe to somebody else's channel. You can subscribe to their channel. It's extremely useful because when I subscribe, I get notified when that channel publishes something. I get notified, like they can, for instance, I put a message in every single YouTube video I send out. And then everybody who gets that, it's just a quick message like, hey, I suggest you check this out. Or it could be something like, maybe you tell them about the video, tell them why it's important, and you have an article, for instance, that goes along with it. You can include that as well. But basically, it's a convenient way. If you subscribe to somebody's channel, you don't have to go to their channel and check when it's something new coming up. By the way, so welcome, Eileen. Glad to have you here today as well.
Hi, Eileen.
So, what are your thoughts on this one, Nick? Do you think you think Facebook is really going to make a big push into this, or do you think this is just going to be like kind of just a test and they're not going to?
They're clearly making a huge push into video. I mean, that's what. Are you getting any feedback from my end? Because I'm hearing some.
No, I'm not actually.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, they're making a huge push. This seems like, if you don't want to miss something by somebody, this is a great way for you to keep up on top of what's happening. For me, I'm not a huge consumer of Facebook Live content yet, but that's mostly because it's the one-to-many rather than what you and I are doing right now, more conversational, which usually be more attracted to the content. The more interactive type of content really appeals to me much more than the one-to-many. So if I notice somebody who's doing something really cool on their channel and I want to follow it, chances are I'm going to use this. Yeah, so it's I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do think it is exactly what this article says, in imitation of what YouTube's already doing.
Now, here's the thing. I actually could see this being extremely useful because, okay, so let's take the current Facebook model, right? The current Facebook model, if I want to do any sort of live video, I go to, for instance, a Facebook page. I'm a
Right.
I go on there and I go live. It's awesome. Like I can go live as myself. I like that, But we all know that, for those of you who don't actually, later in the summer, Facebook's going to be rolling out, the ability to have multiple people broadcasting at the same time, to kind of do what we're doing here with Blab, right? So I see that part being very useful. Now, I could see having like a subscription piece. I could see it being very valuable because if I'm a business, I'm already going to Facebook, for instance, to share content. I've already got my friends' content there as well. If I add in a channel management, I think that could be really useful because I can create a show and publish it directly through Facebook Live. People could subscribe to it. They get notified, for instance, they're already on Facebook, no big deal. And I could possibly, I could probably tie this into my Facebook shop if I have that set up. So I could see this really being a big win for everyone, almost kind of like what Google didn't do, which is, tie Google Plus and YouTube together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's probably a big move since they are going to try to be a broadcast channel, basically, rather than the text posts or the image posts. They've gone from text to image to now video, and so I think this is the next evolution of that. And so I think it could be very valuable. The one thing that we've had trouble with at the company with our Facebook Live feed is, even if you plan ahead, is getting live viewers in there at the time that you're actually doing it. So at least this would maybe increase the replay viewers for those who can't see it live. Maybe they watch it later because they've got a notification that we went live and shared some content that they may find useful.
Absolutely. That could be very useful. I think also, remember, if somebody's doing live video, it's important to do promotion of that event beforehand.
Absolutely.
For example, I did that a little bit with the social chat with Social Chatter here, for instance. And by the way, Eileen, we'll pull you in for a couple minutes here in a second. So I was going to say, if you're getting ready to use Facebook Live video, you want to do some promotion beforehand. That could be something as simple as, let me just do a Facebook Live video right now and tell people what I have coming up, and I tell them when they need to come back and tune in.
Yeah.
Are there other things you think people should do beforehand?
No, I mean, I think you should cross promote it on other channels as well.
Good one.
Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, depending on what it is that you're promoting. If we're promoting experts.com, we're going to do it on across channels, LinkedIn, Google Plus. Strangely enough, Google Plus is, maybe not strangely, where a lot of lawyers are still participating and where they see a lot of our content. That's more of an issue with the legal community than it is with the platforms. So yeah, you cross promotion and letting people know what time, what day, and then go live again then. I think that it is important, but I have noticed even when we do that, actually getting viewers there has been strangely more difficult than Periscope.
Yeah, and it probably is a timing thing. So let's bring Eileen and see if she's got any suggestions.
Hi guys, great to see you.
Hey, how you doing, Eileen?
Hi, Eileen.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard of a platform called Huzzah.
Yes.
Well, they just rolled out a new feature today, and it will allow us to go live on Facebook Live in your groups, in your pages, on your profiles from your desktop. So you'll be able to do all the multi-cam stuff. You don't have to wait for Facebook, because Huzzah also in it lets you do screen sharing and all of that stuff as well. And one of the other features that I really like about Huzzah is that it's integrated with Patreon. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with how Patreon works, but you can do broadcast over there too. So I just thought this was a good time for me to come, because you were talking about cross promoting, Nick. And so if you can be live in 3 places at once without the third party software, you're just on your desktop. So I think that this is something, and I just tested it out because they just released it today. I tested it out about 20 minutes ago. And it,
Cool.
you know, like I said, I was live in 3 places. So I think it's fantastic.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And that goes in, that's, I don't know if that's a Huzza plan or if I'm imagining that's a Huzza plan rather than a Facebook plan to
Well,
allow
yeah,
them
they
to
had
do
to get
that.
the integration working with
Integration,
Facebook.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I guess they're using the API with Facebook.
Right.
And so you can do it from your desktop,
That-
which is
That's good to
brilliant.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, yep.
Very good.
So I just wanted to jump in and let you guys know about that. Something fun to test out.
Yeah. I'll be playing with that this weekend.
That's a very good one too. So
Oh,
I appreciate that.
okay.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for
all
bringing
right,
that one up.
guys, I'll fall into the chat.
Oh,
Thanks,
awesome.
Eileen.
Sure. Thanks. That's a really good tip. So,
Yeah.
for those of you, as Nick mentioned, you could do cross promotion, which would be, let me go on all these channels and, and schedule out, for instance, by the way, we could look at this 2 different ways. I could go on, for instance, and say, okay, let me schedule out updates to, for instance, my Twitter channel, my LinkedIn profile, my Facebook page, my profile, like schedule out to there and basically tell people, hey, I am going to be going live ahead of time. So kind of doing your pre-promotion before the event to really hype it up. But then at the same time, as Eileen mentioned, you could potentially then use Huzzah as you're going live and actually have live streams on all those channels. So
Very
for example,
nice.
if I have, a huge audience on my Facebook page and another good, strong following on Twitter, I could go live in both places and be pulling people into that one video feed. So
Yes.
we might test that out here. Not now, but we'll probably test that out very soon.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely something I'll be testing out soon because I just integrated Huzzah in one of my shows outside my work. So it'll probably be something I'll try out this weekend.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. This is a good topic. So
yeah,
let's go to the second topic. Topic number 2. Topic number 2 is Facebook is running it, and it's kind of funny, I guess. So Facebook just had their quarterly earnings. They were really, really, really strong. Obviously, like mobile is huge. They're making a huge amount of their revenue as generated from mobile usage. But here's the kicker. Facebook is apparently running out of places in newsfeed to show people ads. They're getting a lot of the revenue from ads. So topic number 2, Facebook is running out of places to put their ads. What are your thoughts on that one? If you think they, what kind of things do you think they could do maybe to improve this?
That's interesting. Let me see when you post that link. That's interesting that they're running out of places to post ads. So let me pull up my Facebook page to take a look at this. I have a feeling where we're going to see ads will be in the videos themselves. They're already paying entertainers and news outlets to be on Facebook Live and to be utilizing Facebook Live. So I think we're going to see a lot more TV style ads in Facebook or even YouTube style ads before somebody goes live or during the live feed. I have a feeling, strangely enough, I don't think that's the best idea because it's a great way to turn people off as well. But I have a feeling we're going to be seeing things promoted that way.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with this because I really don't. I'm really not sure what direction they're going to go.
Let me see what's coming up in ads right now.
I think, here's the thing. I think part of it, and this is always the tough part. Like you want to make something free, but at the same time, you also want to make it where, you want to make it free, but at the same time, you want to make sure that it's not something that's like just totally overrun with like ads, because the more ads that you get, the more frustrating it is, I think, for the user. Like there's a lot of sites, for instance, that I don't browse anymore because there's just too many ads. Everything, for instance, is an ad. Like I go on mobile, for instance, and it's not just like, hey, I'm looking at this, article. I can't even get to the article because there's an ad that pops up before I even scroll, for instance. And at that point, I'm out of there.
Absolutely.
I'm like
Yep.
done.
I think they'll be in a good position if they don't move to pop-up ads, because I feel like that's going backwards. Because I think pop-up ads, I think folks have websites who do use them have figured out that that is a great way to lose your traffic. Just like you said, we certainly don't use them on our website, and I generally leave a website that uses them, especially once I finally close it, if it's easy to close. If another one comes up, you're like you said, I'm out of here. I don't have time to go through this to read what I usually find the content elsewhere. I'm looking to see on our actual business page where they're having ads pop up, and I don't see very many on the business page.
No.
Interesting that they don't have something on the right hand side or even the left hand side showing some sort of an ad, so that even that would be related to our business. I would expect something like that, but none. So this must be just on the profile.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm not really sure where they could put the ads, because if I looked at it like this, if I look at it like this, if I, for instance, went on Facebook, I'm going to see them in my newsfeed. I'm going to expect to see them in the sidebar. I don't really want to get any post and say, I already sort of have ads there anyway because they're sponsored posts. I don't really want third-party posts there. I'm not going to be logging out much out of Facebook. And the chances, and then when I do, that's like super premium content that I'm going to see one ad.
Right.
The only logical thing that I see is kind of doing carousel ads, maybe, because I know, those are kind of already there. But what if, for instance, let's say I was selling a product, right, on my Facebook page, and I've got the shop set up, and it's got a little scroller that goes left to right. Maybe what they could do is sell like a placement, let you sell like a placement in there, maybe. Not just like, for instance, like every third product or something could be an ad. Depending on how many people put products in there. Or what about even letting somebody sponsor a Facebook page in a way?
Yeah, that I think would be, if you're getting enough traffic on your own page and you're willing to if the sponsor makes sense for your brand, I don't think there's a problem with that. Even on my profile right now, other than in the news feed, which I don't spend a heck of a lot of time scrolling through like a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only finding one sponsored ad in the sidebar that is really pretty limited. So they may be having to move some of these ads higher up, especially those that show up on the right sidebar. Maybe they decide we're going to have to give it a little better placement on the page.
And I would say this. So, for example, for those of you who have the new Facebook page layout, we talked about this last week. You can see that by going to socialchefs.com/blab-45. That will basically let you see, with the new Facebook page layout. This presents another opportunity. Do they maybe get into even having a tiered presentation of sorts? For example, say I go to your Facebook page, let's say for Facebook tabs, maybe they would say, hey, we give you, and I doubt they're going to keep tabs, but let's say they say, hey, every, you get 3 tabs for free, and then maybe you get an ad or something for another tab or something. I'm just trying to think of, opportunities here.
If they're running out of space for ads, Facebook is getting pretty busy these days. And then of course we have apps on top of the main app or the main page. So you got to have Messenger, and you got to have Pages app and all that. So this will be interesting to see where they go.
It's an interesting, again, this is running out of places in the news feed, but I'm just trying to think beyond the news feed, because there's a lot of different, they got a lot of users. Everybody's starting to compete for ad space, which is which is great, except for the fact that, it's so, the only problem I guess the only thing I see is what could end up happening is maybe they end up going the way of Google does, where certain keywords just get really expensive.
Yeah. I think that's part of it.
What? You're cutting out, actually. I don't have any audio. There you go. Yeah.
Now?
Yes.
Weird. This headset's been giving me trouble today, so I'm going to have to get a new one. Yeah, I think it's going to be on video a lot. And probably you want to watch this video, you're going to have a 5-second spot before the video actually goes into play, or 15-second spot before the video goes into play. I think that's where, if they're pushing, which we see that they're pushing so hard into video, it's what makes sense to me.
Absolutely. And what the 4-in-1 had a good point. They're with you on the fact that ad push is probably the reason why Facebook's really pushing video and live video. It's tough. I mean, it really is, because I think on one hand, at the same time, I don't expect them to do the same thing that was kind of already done with ads, because it's kind of played out. I mean, for example, nowadays, I don't really like to watch TV commercials. It's not just, and so like, so I don't like watching TV commercials. Okay. Well, let's say, okay, well now TiVo came out, or, some sort of like recorder. Okay, great. And what was the next thing? I was probably thinking, okay, I can skip my ads and watch whatever I want. But at the same time, it's like you can do that, but they still limit you for certain things. Like they still make you watch the ads in some cases.
Yeah.
It'd
be interesting to see if they come up with anything creative, because I'm with you on that. I've cut the cord to regular cable and gone only to streaming services to avoid that ad push.
But so you still have ads, for instance, like if you use like Hulu, I mean, they still have ads within there that they want you to watch. If I want to go watch, for instance, ABC, NBC on their mobile app, like awesome, I can watch it on my tablet. That's like amazing, right? But I still have to watch ads, and in some cases, it's like you have to watch like 6 ads before you can keep watching.
And it's like, which is why I, after 7 days of free on Hulu, I cut that one out of my streaming services. I was like, this is just watching TV all over again.
So it's not any different. It's just like, hey, we moved it here. Like,
you're right.
I mean, they really need to change up the model. I mean, part of it could be,
I agree.
Part of it could be they really need to cut their production, cost. You look at like you look at movies. I mean, movies want people to really, they want you to watch the trailer. They want you to, they've got to merchandise very well. But the thing is, the salaries are getting so high for some of the actors that they can't make a profit on a movie, because there's so much advertising that goes into getting the promotion on it. There's so much that, say you bring an actor in that's like, $30 million or whatever, $30 million of like, $150 million budget. Like that's a fifth of your budget. So you've got to find a different, you either need to pay the people less or find a different model, because I think people are kind of getting tired of the ads.
Yeah, and you make another great point there, because we see the same thing happening with the streaming services that I can get without ads, and the ability to buy mini movies shortly after they have already gone out to the theater, and there's fewer people going to the theater. So I agree. It would be interesting to see if we start getting the ads that I might get in a YouTube video, where the banner comes up below the video, but the video is still playing in the background.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see more of that, where you're not.
Your headset cut out again, actually. I don't hear anything now. 1 second, everyone. We'll be right back. Nick's going to change the headset. Okay. I can't hear you right now. Can you hear me? So what's the 411? Can you hear Nick? What you might have to do, Nick, is you might have to just refresh real quickly. I've had to do that sometimes when I plug in the headset. Okay, Nick will be right back. Thanks for helping us out on that one. What's the 411? Okay, so let's bring Nick back in and see if that fixed the audio issue. What's going on, Nick? Can't hear you. That's weird. Can you guys hear me at all? Okay, that's weird. Let me see. Okay, well, we're gonna let Nick come back here in a second. He's just going through trying to get his trying to get his audio working. So I want to keep talking on some of these, one other Facebook topic actually for today. And this topic for Facebook is just about live comments. It's a new feature. So Facebook has a new feature for live comments where you can display the time in the video when the comment was submitted. So it's actually pretty handy. A buddy of mine, Mr. Jeff DeHaven, he and I are working together on the Social Chefs brand here. And, he tipped me off to this earlier, basically, but Facebook is going to be adding this, basically to the comment. And what's really cool about this is when you get the comment, you can click on it and you can go in and it'll basically let you get access to the directly to the part of the video. So let me see if. So let's, Nick, whenever you're ready, you're welcome to come back in. But let's see. So, okay. So while we're waiting for Nick, I'm just going to roll through a couple of things. But yeah, so Facebook Live comments, pretty cool that they're doing this. They're able to, display those within the, basically shows up in your news feed. Let me see if I can get you guys an example that I can share. Going on, Nick.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, let's hope they hold out.
It's a little bit low, but you could probably just turn your volume up a little bit.
Yeah.
So let me know when you're good, and I'll.
I can hear you fine. Is it low for you still?
That's actually good. That's good now.
All right.
Cool. Okay. So we got to keep going here. I got to wrap up a little early today, so we'll keep going. So the last thing I just talked about actually was basically this. Facebook has released, or they've added an update to live video. So when you're commenting on a live video, you actually can see the time in the video when the comment was made and actually go to it. So that's actually super handy if you're using live video a lot. Nice to have these little features. And that's just a little minor thing. My buddy Jeff DeHaven tipped me off at that earlier.
Very cool.
So I'm going to keep going here with a couple other little things. So topic number 4. This one's actually kind of playing off the whole like live streaming feature as well. Periscope has introduced replay highlights, tweet embeds, and live autoplay. I don't have any real like links for that in particular. Basically, the only link I can give you is actually to go download the Periscope app if you don't have it.
Okay.
I'll put that actually in here for everybody. But this is actually a really good feature for Periscope users. A lot of these features actually tie into Facebook. Or sorry, I don't say tie into, but they overlap on what Facebook does.
Interesting.
For example, the ability with Periscope, for instance, the ability to go and, for example, to be able to, to do replay highlights. Like that was something Facebook was working on where you could do like, I think it was reactions, and you could go and
annotate it essentially.
Yeah, basically what would happen is I could go into a video and I could see where the reaction was and actually and look at it there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Periscope needs to do some innovations. They seem to be falling behind.
Periscope, Twitter in general, yes, and it's one of those things. They really need to start. They really need to start working. Like Twitter, Twitter's having a hard time getting people like on their platform, right?
Yep.
A lot of people are not seeing the value in it, and it's still valuable. It's extremely valuable. It just comes down to how people are using it.
Correct.
And so people aren't, they're having a hard time getting people to sign up for Twitter. So now they have all these little external services, Vine, Periscope, that people, can sign up for and use their Twitter ID to log in. Awesome. I think that Periscope is going to be really, probably the saving grace for Twitter. I mean, when people go to event, here's the crazy thing. When people go to events, what are people doing? They're not on, they're not on Facebook, for instance. I mean, some people are, but they're not just like, let me go to Facebook and like just fill my feed up with a whole bunch of status updates. What they're doing is they're going to Twitter, they're using a hashtag for an event, and they're tweeting during that event. And it's just, it tends to work just so much better than using Facebook. Part of it is probably because it's very lightweight compared to like, if I were to say, hey, let me go to an event and let me live stream this. I got to have a lot of data. I got to have a really good signal. I know a lot of places I go at events, they have terrible signal. And it's probably because everybody's, there's too many devices around.
Correct.
So I think Twitter really needs to, put a lot more stock into Periscope. I think we're going to see that they had a lot of bad numbers this week. So.
Yeah, they did. As a full disclosure, as a stockholder, nothing significant, nothing major, but enough that I care what happens, and I bought into them because I thought they would turn it around. They need.
Do what? You cut out. Is that thing battery operated or what? Or is that just Twitter saying, hey, Nick, no, we're cutting you off. Nick, cutting you off. Okay, I can hear you. Hold on. I can hear you. No, okay, it's gone. Is that, that's not battery powered, is it? Garbage. Okay, by the way, Nick needs a new headset. So if anybody wants to give him a new headset, he can definitely use one so we can continue blabbing. Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to figure that one out, Nick. Nick's going to come back here in a second. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so do me a favor, can you refresh actually real quick and let's see if you can join back in and let's see if that fixes it maybe. No. That's really strange. I don't know what's going on. You can hear me, right? So the last time I had this happen, what I had to do was I either had to restart my computer. If I was using a USB mic, I had to plug it in and unplug. And you did the whole, are you on a Mac or PC? PC? Okay. I was going to say what you can do on a Mac is you can option click on the volume icon at the top and go down and select your input devices, but you're on a PC. So I'm not sure what to tell you to do there. Well, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to keep talking. You're welcome to stay on video. It actually is nice because it's actually nice because you've got great lighting in that room. My lighting's not too great. So the last topic I had for today really was just, and I almost could have just said, hey, this is the social ads show or something. But basically, Tumblr is introducing ads into all of their blog posts. Now, this is a fascinating topic, not just because okay, Tumblr is going to introduce ads on all their blog posts, but the interesting part is that this week Verizon bought the core business units of Yahoo, and I think I got that right, Nick, didn't I? They bought Verizon bought. Let's see, they bought pretty much I think all of Yahoo, and then they didn't buy their stake in Alibaba. They didn't buy the Yahoo Japan, I think. But basically, Tumblr is introducing ads across all blogs, and this is kind of fascinating because, okay, so Verizon bought this. Personally, I I don't use Tumblr. I haven't been on Tumblr in years. I'm glad that they're putting ads on here. But what's kind of, I guess, fascinating about this, or ironic, is that, okay, they're putting ads on it now when Yahoo was having a problem before generating any revenue from anything. So I'm not really sure why did they do that now when this literally just closed, what, 2 days ago? Or sorry, it didn't close yet, but they agreed in principle, I guess, upon a deal. It probably closes in a few months once it goes through regulators and whatnot. So it's really fascinating to see that that they're moving into ads as well. I think the other part of this that to me is really interesting as well is just this whole other idea. So a few years ago, people, I don't know if you do this, Nick, but people have a blog, right? They get started, they put a blog up. What are they going to do? They're going to put Google AdSense on. People are going to put, they're going to put Google AdSense on. By the way, I was looking at this handle you were sending a message to, Blab STUD. I wasn't sure who that was. So basically, what happened was this: people start a blog. How do they go about generating any sort of revenue? Because it costs money to run a blog. You've got hosting, you got domain fees, you got email services. For instance, I pay for a separate email service in addition to my hosting because I was having problems, for instance, getting emails delivered. So I had to go buy a different service, and and all those things, they cost money. Like Google Mail is like $10 a month or something, and so what people were doing was monetizing their blog with ads. They were putting on their, Google AdSense. They might put on some affiliate links, that kind of stuff, right? But this is the fascinating part about the whole Tumblr thing. If people are then, okay, is this, I guess, a way, it's kind of almost like Blogger all over again. Like I can have Blogger and I can put some ads on. I can get a couple of cents here and there for my content, to generate, some revenue for my business. I'm not really sure why, though, why they're doing this now. And I kind of think that this could have been done years ago. It's kind of like almost too late. People are, putting pop-up blockers on. Sorry, pop-up blockers. They're putting ad blockers on to block ads because they don't want the ads. And so what has happened? A lot of users have actually gone in and removed ads from their site. For example, I don't think on any of my sites I have any like Google AdSense ads. I had some, I took them off. Why did I take them off? Because it slowed down my site. So it's like very interesting idea. Not sure why they did this, but so that's the other piece of social media news for the week. Nick, did you have anything else I didn't cover? Okay, so let's get the tools. I'm glad we can at least still chat in the comments. I don't know if you're going to get any support from Blab here, but my guess is afterwards, what you'll probably have to do is just restart your computer to get your audio back. That tends to fix the issue. Either that, or if you had a USB mic, you could have plugged it in. I think I had something similar happen with my, like my PC as well. Like I had a driver that basically wasn't loading at one time, and just usually a quick restart. It's like, hey, I'm back on. So not really sure what's going on. We'll have to get you a new mic at some point, I guess, or you probably already have a bunch there. So let's talk about tools. Tool number one today is a LinkedIn job search tool. Actually, let me make sure I have the right tool because I'm thinking of two different ones. You know what? This is actually a different tool. One second. Let me make sure I got the right tool. Was it that one or was it this one? Well, I want to say, let me see something real quick. I think I got the wrong LinkedIn tool. There's actually a couple of LinkedIn tools I wanted to talk about. We'll roll with it. We'll talk about this one. So LinkedIn job search, basically it is a tool from LinkedIn. I'm a little confused. I got the wrong tool here today. So what this one is, tool number one is LinkedIn job search. This is a pretty recent tool. Basically what you can do, you can search for jobs. You can apply using your LinkedIn profile. The tool I was actually really looking for was LinkedIn had another tool that was a way for you. For instance, have you ever used like Elance to hire people for projects? It was a LinkedIn tool to let you hire people. I can't remember what it was though. If I can find it real quick for everyone. Well, can't remember what, I can't find it, but basically it's a so tool number one is LinkedIn job search. If you're needing a job, LinkedIn is a good place to obviously put your resume, but at the same time, LinkedIn job search has I want to say they had some features that would let you locate, for instance, like people to hire for a specific project, but I think I might have got the wrong tool there. So okay, so that's tool number one. Tool number two, and by the way, Nick, if you have anything you want to add from a tool standpoint, you're welcome to just put it in the chat and just tell me about it. So tool number two, we're going to switch over to photography real quick. Actually, we're going to finish up on photography because we have two tools about photography today. One of those is an app called Polaroid Swing. And for those of you who used Polaroid in the past, I remember these when I was a kid. Basically, they were, these flip up cameras. They had a little flash on the top, and you put this like cartridge in, and you had the little button on the side, and you could just click it. And what would happen is it would spit out a photo. It spit out a little square, and you could sit there and shake it, and it would actually, you could shake the photo, and it basically would help it develop faster. So Polaroid is still around. I think the brand has changed hands a bunch of times. By the way, I'm not sure what your question is. Actually, I'm not sure. I need to learn Arabic. I think that's Arabic. Not sure what your question is there in the comments, but just let us know. So Polaroid Swing. Polaroid Swing is an app that lets you create moving photos with a tap, basically. So you can basically create a 1 second moment that basically comes to life when you touch them or swing your iPhone. Personally, I'd much rather touch my iPhone. Thanks a lot, by the way, Nick. I personally, I would rather just touch my phone. I'm not into they have this feature where you can shake to undo stuff. I do that occasionally, but I'm like, okay, let me make sure I've got a firm grip, my hands aren't wet, and I shake the device. And at that point, I'm able to undo something. So this is actually kind of cool because it sort of ties in some of that nostalgic Polaroid feature, about shaking something. Instead, I can just basically do this swing it, and it will move the photo, which is kind of fascinating. So pretty neat little feature. Pretty neat little app for creating, some basically a living photo. I know there's a ton of other apps out there for this. I know, for instance, if you've got a new iPhone, and I know I talk a lot about iPhone, that's just because I'm a big Apple fan. But if you've got an iPhone, you have if you have the new ones, you have, I think it's a new, I think you can do live photos with that without having the app. There's a lot of other ones that are doing the same thing. I personally use Workflow for creating little short, if I want to create an animated GIF or something like that, I use Workflow for it opens the app, it takes 3 pictures and stitches it together. So I don't need an app, but it's pretty slick. So this is Polaroid Swing. Okay. Any comments on Polaroid Swing, Nick? I know we're sort of short on time today, so I don't want to I'd love to be able to demo these, but today I'm not going to demo this one. Okay. So the third tool, and this one is actually this one's actually really new. I do wish I could hear you too. So we'll have to, we can either chat afterwards or, once you get your computer restarted, we could actually just probably get on another blab or something. So tool number 3 is actually a tool called Microsoft Pix. This is, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this one, but Microsoft is trying to come out with a better camera app. And they actually say this camera app is better than, for instance, the iPhone one. It's not available for Android. But basically what the Microsoft Pix app does, and this is really cool, is you can take a photo. So let's tell you what it does, and we'll tell you why it's kind of important. So you could take a photo, and it basically will make the photo better. So when it detects a face, it will adjust the settings to help you look the best. So it's using a lot of AI. You can take a burst mode of images and before and after each shutter tap, and it will help you capture the moment. Basically, another thing that it really does is they give you an intelligent enhancement feature. So basically, they take an image and you can actually see you can see what the photo looks like before and after. They also will create some of those short looping videos of action as well when it senses motion in the photo. 1 second. So they claim that this is better than, for instance, the iOS camera app. I don't know for a fact if it is. I tend to bounce back and forth between camera apps. I use, for instance, the iOS default camera app. If I'm going to, for instance, take a panoramic photo, I want to post something. If I want to take a Facebook 360 photo, I use the default camera app. But there are a couple of things. I'm not a big fan of the fact that, like, when I want to brighten the image, like, you see how Nick's photo looks great or his video looks great. Mine's kind of dark. It's because I'm in a small a room with a low ceiling and not good lighting. But I don't like, for instance, when I use the camera app, if I want to brighten it, I can tap on the screen and I can, move my finger up and down, but that's the most control that I get. So for me, for instance, I use the slow-mo feature in there sometimes, but I mainly do the panoramic. Yep. And Nick's going to show us what this looks like actually here. So when you tap on it, there's a little box that'll appear and you can raise your finger up and down, but that's the extent of it, actually. You can't touch multiple spots. You can press and hold on the screen and it will actually make it lock the focus, and then you can do your adjustments, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't give you that granular control to improve the overall quality of the photo. For example, in this photo, like if I were a photo, my background is really dark, I'm okay. So, I really need some more the ability to focus and the ability to improve the quality of the lighting. So I typically, I bounce between the camera app and then I use, for instance, Camera Plus. I don't use another app, for instance, for panoramics, but I wish Camera Plus had that, for instance. And if it does, I haven't found it. But I tend to bounce back and forth. I like Camera Plus because it has a feature where I can tap with 2 fingers and I can adjust the overall, the brightness and the darkness, in the image. I can actually select, for instance, something that's like white, pure white, and it'll actually, blow out the image. Or I can darken it if I need to enhance certain things, and I can do focus. By the way, Nick, I'm wondering if your internet signal might be the issue, because you're just says poor internet signal. So that's interesting. I'd really like to hear what you're talking about here. You said you use Snapchat camera to kill 2 birds with 1 stone these days, because that would actually be really interesting to hear about as well. My guess is you probably are using Snapchat, and then maybe you're potentially putting Bitmoji on it. So I personally, like I said, I bounce back and forth for my camera apps. For my video apps, I use a dedicated video app. So getting back this whole, and by the way, great comment, by the way, from Nick. When you end up taking the photo, on Snapchat, for instance, you do save it to your camera roll so that everything is there in one place. So that's, ideally the best thing to do is, regardless of which app you use, because it has certain features that work well for you, you should always try to save them back to your camera roll. And this actually includes not just, for instance, the default camera app, Camera Plus, Snapchat. You can also do that with Facebook Live video. So if I'm recording a Facebook Live video, I can also, at the end of the broadcast, I have an option to save it to the camera roll. So it's there as well. And I actually have an article if you want to download your Facebook Live videos. Share that as well with everybody. But so going back to this whole Pix thing, this Microsoft Pix thing is pretty neat. So basically what it does is it improves the quality of the photo. But the other thing that it does, it improves the quality automatically. It does the live video. If it detects motion, for instance, if Nick was in a setting where there was water behind him, it would actually, or a waterfall or something, it would actually make a live video, which is essentially a looping collection of photos. The other thing, though, that I think is very unique about this app, and it's a free app, is that, for instance, if I'm using the default camera app on my phone and I have the burst mode turned on, I could take 20 photos at one time. So here's what the typical user does. They take 20 photos. Awesome. They pick one that they want, but what happens? They end up with 19 other ones in their camera roll. They have no clue. They don't even know they're there most of the time. And they just sit there, and then, they get uploaded to iCloud, or they get uploaded to Google Photos if you're using that as well. And you end up with just photos all over the place. So what's also really handy about the Microsoft Pix app is, in addition to these improvements, it will delete all the other stuff. So you pick a photo and you get the final one. Because really, who needs 20 photos of the same thing with one little small adjustment each time? So yeah, so it seems like it's a pretty good little app here. I'm gonna probably try to actually go and use this a little bit more. I've got a tennis match tonight, so I'm gonna go try and see how this actually works. in that setting and see if it actually, does a better job, because I tend to take photos when I'm out there to kind of see what it's like, when I'm playing, or, to kind of get, some good stuff to kind of like, share later on. So what are your thoughts, Nick, on these apps? Have you, by the way, have you tried restarting the computer at all or no? Okay. That's going to be the last thing. My guess is it's actually more of a driver on the machine and not the blab issue, but we'll try, we can all do that next week. So what are your thoughts real quick on these apps? Do you have any feedback on them? Do you like them? Anything in particular you're looking at that you're using a lot of? And I realize there's a bit of a delay when we're talking here, because, you basically, it's like, I got to read it and I got to type it. So personally, I mean, out of these apps today, the Microsoft Pix one is probably the one that I think I'm most intrigued by. I will say this as well. If you are an iOS user, very easy app to use, but you do have to remember as well, on your device, you can have up to 15 pages of apps in a folder. And I say this because if, for example, you get a ton of, if you take a ton of like photographs, you're going to end up with like one folder. Yeah, you got like, yeah, absolutely. You end up with, so for example, here, I'll show you mine. For example, this is my photography one that I have. Let me tilt my monitor here. Well, I guess I could just plug my phone in and share it, but basically I have, a whole bunch of pages of photography apps. This is also where like having optimal lighting is actually useful, because I'm sure you couldn't tell any of the apps that were there, but you can have 15 pages of apps. I think there's 9 per page. So it's like you can have 150, 145 apps, I think, in a folder. Personally, if you're going to have that many apps, I would say you would want to probably use the search box to find them. At some point, maybe go through and just, get rid of the ones you don't need, because there's potentially a lot of duplicates that tend to kind of do very similar functionality. So, yeah, no, absolutely. But it is interesting. That's kind of the whole app mentality here with apps. It's, it's the fact that there's an app for pretty much almost every little feature that you want to do. And that's one thing that, for iOS, it's kind of unique, because, for instance, like if I wanted to, like, let's say it was Photoshop. If I wanted to be able to do edits on my mobile device, like if I'm in Photoshop, for instance, I've got layers and I've got all these other complex things on the desktop. But when I go on a phone, when this initially, when this stuff kind of came out to begin with, like, hey, if you want to remove the background, you need this app, because we were waiting on Adobe to kind of come out with something. It used to be like, okay, if I wanted to like draw on a photo, for instance, that didn't exist. I could, I think I could open like, you didn't have like Paint basically, but nowadays you have, you've got Canva for iPhone, which came out last week. You've got, what other ones you got? You've got, let's see, Relay that's another one, but I don't think they're for iOS. You've got a lot more, like you've got Snapchat, you've got lots and lots and lots of apps to be able to do any sort of drawing. You've got Adobe Spark, Adobe, because they've got all their separate apps. You've got Procreate, which is a really cool drawing app. So you got all these little apps that tend to like do very similar functionality. So I would say, personally, I keep a handful of them on my device, and then I just kind of like, I get rid of the other ones once I figure out they don't, do something that I need. But lots of really good stuff here. So, by the way, yeah, Eileen, if you want to jump back in, yeah, feel free to.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I see that.
Nick and I
Lost
were,
his audio.
yeah, we weren't sure what happened. He ended up having to like, he restarted it. It went out one time and then it came back in, and he's actually going to probably try to restart his computer real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, we were talking about Microsoft Pix, a new app, and it basically is it's another camera app, but basically what it does is it was letting you take a photo. It would actually like do a lot of things. It would sense, for instance, If there was lighting that needed to be improved, it would sense, if there was motion in the background, it would create like a live photo basically, to where like it just basically records stuff. And they also had some other functionality where like if you take multiple photos like in burst mode, it would actually delete all the other ones and like keep the good one.
Oh,
so that way you weren't storing, I told Nick, like you're not storing 20 photos of the same thing. You're keeping the best one and getting rid of the other stuff.
Is that an iOS app?
It is an iOS app, iOS only app.
Okay.
I think they said there's one coming for, let me see. I want to say they said there was one coming for Android, but it was just not.
Okay, but it's not desktop.
Right. No, not desktop. Nope. Totally mobile.
Okay.
So, and that is actually a really interesting thing. I'd love to see, if they're coming out with this kind of stuff, I'd love to see a mobile app and a desktop app that kind of sync together. If their goal is to kind of get me to use the tool, because like if I take it on my mobile device, great, it's on my mobile device, but I want to get it back to my desktop, and at that point, the only real way to do that is, to kind of, the only real way to do that is really to kind of like, sync your device, put it on your desktop, and then work with it. So, by the way, Nick, wanted to say thanks for joining. Hopefully you're still on. I know we had some issues with the audio today, but you did a fantastic job, and hopefully we get your mic fixed. Just hit me up later on and let me know if you get it working. So. So with that, Eileen, I didn't have anything else for today. Actually, I was I have one other question. Actually, I was trying to figure out. I thought LinkedIn had a new app where you could pull up like almost like an Elance type service.
I don't know if that's on the app. I do know they have something on like a jobs board, sort of, but I don't know that you can find that on the app. I'm not sure.
I thought I had actually seen something somewhere, but I wasn't sure if you happen to remember it offhand.
No, because I haven't used it on the app. Put it that way. I've only read about it. I didn't even see it on the website, to be honest with you. But I know that it's there now. And okay. Oh,
so
what's the 411? But really quickly, I'm not sure. I know you talked about apps. Did you happen to mention that PicMonkey has an app now?
I didn't mention PicMonkey actually, only because I had other photography apps. Actually, I was talking about Polaroid Swing. But I would also say this. I mean, I'm wondering if PicMonkey came out with an app because Canva came out with an app last week.
Well, they were both working on it for a long time because I follow PicMonkey's blog and and both of them. I follow Canva's blog as well, and they both had been saying for months that they were working on an app. Yeah. So I don't know if they pushed the release, just to coincide. But I still think it's cool because, but you have to have the Royale. You have to have PicMonkey Royale. But I've always found PicMonkey to be a little bit more user friendly than Canva. Although Canva does have all the templates. So, there's like 6 in one hand, it doesn't any other. So it's good that there's competition,
Speaking of Canva, by the way, just a quick thing. Canva actually did do a new rollout this week to their desktop service.
Okay.
So their desktop actually has a whole new look to it. So, for example, when you previously clicked on an item, what would happen is the item would it would have certain characteristics to it. And you kind of had to figure out, well, what layer am I working on? With the new one, they're actually, you have the ability now when you select an item, you get basically a menu along the top. Cool. So it's kind of, it's not I will say this, it takes a little getting used to because it doesn't pull up all the options. Like, like you're used to like a file menu. So if I pull up, for instance, Canva, I'm used to like having file on the top or something. With the new Canva app, what they basically have is, depending on the selection I've chosen, like if I choose a piece of text, it will give me, like, okay, you can change the size, the font, the color, the style. But then, for instance, I might choose a photo and I might have, transparency as an option. Like, so the options are basically going from being on top of the image to being above the image.
One interesting thing that I want to say about this whole idea of all these apps, now on the image editing apps, I think became super popular because of Instagram. That's just my opinion, and maybe because I'm a social media person. I'm sure there's other folks that are into photography and into just art in general, or just sharing pics with their friends. But for me, I think that, and when it came to the point where people would pay for apps, it was like, I want to make my Instagram, I want to be able to customize those text overlays and all that. But now that you have all these tools where you can do scheduling for about a year now, I've been using Viral Tag, but now even Buffer has the scheduling now. Just to be fair, it's not really scheduling. It sends you a notification to remind you, but you're doing all your design back on the desktop now. It's like, not really doing that much design on the phone. And it's like, there is just a plethora of apps now. And what's really cool is, though, even with Snapchat, with the memories feature, you can basically share, those things that you're sharing on Instagram. Now, I just want to caution people, you don't want to just share, your Instagram pics only on Snapchat, because Snapchat's about stories, but you can weave those into your stories and, make your stories a little bit more rich. And then, you still add all the other, like your Bitmoji and all that stuff onto your image. But we have all these apps now, but I don't know that we need them as much as we used to, because you can do everything on desktop. So I just think it's a little funny.
And that's funny, actually, you mentioned that, because Nick and I were briefly, we were trying to talk about it, but we couldn't because there was no audio. Sorry, Nick, I had to joke on that one at your expense there. We did a good job. He did an excellent job, actually. We're still in the comments. But we were talking about how, like, you could have 145 apps on your device in one folder, and it was it was great that you could do that. But we were also talking about how there's apps for everything now. It's like you get one app and then you get rid of one app. So it's just like you keep it temporarily.
Yeah.
And I also would say, like, just the cost to, like, pay for some of these apps. I mean, I have a few apps that I've paid $20 for, $25 for, and they're ones that I. Like, for instance, I bought a writing tool, a number of months back, and I paid like $25 for, like, the mobile app and like $40-something for the desktop app.
Was that
great
Scrivener one you were showing us?
It wasn't Scrivener it wasn't Scrivener from last week, but it's a very similar one in the fact that, though, like, you basically just wrote in Markdown,
right?
But you could publish. It was very handy, great product. But then, for instance, Scrivener came out, and I'm like, okay, that's $20 for Scrivener, and I'm like, well, it's very similar to the other one that was $25. What's the
right?
That's like what, $45, $20, that's what, $65. Let's tack on another 25. That's what, like $90 right there in apps, just for 3 apps. And so I tend to be very selective on what apps I pay for. Unless it's something that's like, oh, hey, it's $1. I don't mind spending $1 for
$1.99 or something like that. You don't mind too much. But, I just look at my apps that I have, like, even I download Pokemon. I played it for 1 day or 2 days, and I caught like 2 Pokemon. Now I'm happy. I'm like, I could get rid of that app now. At least I saw it. Yeah. I saw what it was about. I saw how it could be fun. But moving on. So, I'm looking at a lot of the apps that are, even some of the ones that I have on my home screen, and I'm saying, why do I haven't used that in months? But, you just keep thinking, I'm going to use it soon. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, and someone said that you much more fun when you do it.
It's funny. You kind of gravitate towards certain apps. You gravitate towards certain apps, and then all of a sudden you just kind of stop after a while. Either the app gets buried in a folder, or it's just like, hey, my preference has shifted. I mean, I have certain apps on here that, they're not in folders. They're directly on my home screen, but a lot of my other ones go into folders. So,
yeah. So we got to at least try them, especially, like Christian, what you do. And I love how you, on your newsletter, how you send out the app updates and all that. And you just give us a snippet of what it's about, and give people that option. Should I check this one out or not? Like, I saw the Microsoft Picks one, and I said to myself, why is Microsoft coming out with it? This was the first thing that came to my head. And I'm thinking, I bet it's an iOS app too, right? Which I just think is just so like there's something wrong with the universe. Like, why is Microsoft making apps for iOS? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and everybody kind of asks that question. They're like, well, hey, why do I need another app? But it's, I like that they're at least doing, that some of these companies are venturing out from being just, like a, Microsoft case, like from just being a piece of software that, people, an operating system.
No, I just kind of wish
to now being a lot more
I know it's
so,
harder to make the app for Android and all that, but I just wish, when it's a company that's kind of like going to a different platform, at least give both sides a chance, release the iOS app and the Android app at the same time. It can be done. It's done many times. So, but I just think, it's just the way things are now. Things that you never thought would happen. And like, I don't even know if people use Windows phones anymore. I mean, I'm sure there's some still out there. I don't mean it that way, but I don't know if people are buying Windows phone. Maybe I should say it that way.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. So, but yeah, I mean, I think like, by the way, thanks a lot for telling me about PicMonkey. I'll have to check that one out. Because PicMonkey seems like it's a good tool. So, and by the way, yeah, who is this? Who is this? Sorry, I gotta get the person's name. Nicholas, yeah, you make a good point. Most small startups, they seem to only focus on Apple first. Part of it is the demographic. I think also, like you're right. Part of it is because people are willing to spend money if they have an iOS device, or at least that's, what that trend needs to be or tends to be. But, I think that at the same time, people do that, but there also, I think, is probably some additional opportunities for someone who has an app in the App Store to kind of, to really promote their app a little bit better. And Apple's also got some new stuff coming out with iOS 10 where, they'll give you it looks like they're going to give you a bigger cut of the revenue. It's like the first year you get a certain percentage. And
have you ever thought about developing an app?
The more that it goes down. So I actually I have an app I had one in the App Store actually. I had one in, I think it was last year. I ended up pulling it out for for a few reasons.
Okay.
But, it was basically it was actually a video app. So it was, I will say this, it's a lot of work. It's hard to get, once you get the app built, it goes through a process. And once it goes through that, that approval process, there's a lot of times where it took time to, create the app, test it, submit it, and then you had to wait. And once it got approved, then you might have to make more corrections to it. And then, then you might have to wait a little bit longer to get it approved. And by the time that happens, it's like, okay, I need to go update something, or, sometimes it could be weeks. So it's a lot of work. It does also then require a lot of marketing as well to get it out there. So, but it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, I loved it. Loved being able to do it. So, yeah, and I still have the app, and I can actually take it and
and there's so much going on with video right now. It's almost
just a little bit of time.
It's got to probably really be hard to get attention to a video type app. Hi.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I'm noticing a lot of apps that are like they seem like they're duplicating other functionality.
And
but
and
yeah.
Brian.
So how you doing, Kelly?
Hey.
So by the way, I'm just gonna wrap up the show, but only because I got a couple of things I got to get to. So I gotta say, big shout out to Nick.
My pleasure.
Big shout out to Eileen. Thanks a lot for stepping in. My normal co-host Vincent couldn't make it today. He's got some big stuff he's kind of working on. I'll know more about that next week. Maybe he'll share some of it. So, I want to thank everyone, and I want to say, if you want to subscribe to next week's show. We basically do these every single week at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can subscribe, and that will let us know you're coming. And then if you have any questions, just reach out to me at Social Chefs #Social Chatter. or at
Okay. Bye-bye.
CKRPS. Thanks a lot for joining Eileen and Nick. Bye, guys.